Okay.
Okay.
You're right, I'm sorry.
Village of Wheeling regular meeting is now called to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Trustee Lang?
Here.
Trustee Here?
Here.
Trustee Argyris?
Here.
Trustee Hein?
Here.
Trustee Brady?
Here.
Trustee Wargo informed the board he would not be here this evening. I'm sorry. Trustee Vogel?
He's not here.
He's not here. President Abiscato?
Here. Approve the minutes of the special meeting of January 23rd.
So move.
Motion made by
Second.
Trustee Argyris, second by Trustee Lang. Roll call, please.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Here?
Yes.
Trustee Argyris?
Yes.
Trustee Hein?
Staying.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
President Abiscato?
Yes. Mr. Fondilas, any changes to the agenda?
No, Madam President.
Thank you. Proclamations.
The Hadassah 100th anniversary. On February 24th, 1912, Henrietta Zold founded Hadassah, a volunteers women's organization with the biblical mission of Ruhat Bat Ami, the healing of the daughter of my people. Hadassah's early mission was to bring American-style medical care to serve the people of Palestine, regardless of race, creed, or ethnicity. In the mid-1930s, Henrietta Zold joined with a German colleague to organize the rescue of thousands of Jewish children from Nazi Europe and bring them to safety in Palestine, where they would later become one of the foundations of the modern state of Israel. During World War II, the U.S. State Department named Hadassah as one of the 5 largest contributors to overseas relief, selling $200 million in war bonds, an effort commemorated with 100 U.S. Air Force bombers, each bearing the name of a Hadassah chapter. Hadassah founded, owns, and supports 2 world-class medical centers in Greater Jerusalem, one of Israel's top-ranked smaller colleges, and Israel's largest touring and residency program for American Jewish youth, and is rapidly expanding their campuses and facilities while also supporting major reforestation and water conservation programs to protect precious natural resources. Hadassah also supports youth Aliyah day centers and youth villages that house, feed, educate, and nurture young immigrants and Israel's underprivileged youth, as well as the Hadassah Medical Organization, one of the world's leading institutions in healthcare. Hadassah is the largest Jewish volunteer organization in America and one of the largest women's volunteer organizations in the world, and its 300,000 members serve as models of hard work, integrity, and dedication. Judy Abiscato, President of the Village of Wheeling, do hereby proclaim congratulations to the members of Hadassah on the occasion of their organization's 100th anniversary and wish them continued success and happiness in the future.
Ms. Jacobson. There you are. Thank you. Congratulations on the anniversary, and I'm sure all that you do for those that are in need. We thank you. You have a nice day. Citizens' concerns and comments?
There are none, Madam President.
There are none. Thank you. No staff reports. Consent agenda?
All items that listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered after all other regular agenda items.
Madam President, I'd like to remove item 11B. Excuse me. It will become
13E.
yeah, 13E.
Do we have any other changes?
So moved.
Motion made by
Second.
Trustee Brady, second by Trustee Giris. Roll call, please.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Heer?
Yes.
Trustee Argyris?
Yes.
Trustee Hein?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
President Abiscato.
Yes. New business, all items for discussion and possible action.
13A, resolution authorizing and directing the village president to execute a letter of agreement with the Suburban Primary Health Care Council to make the Village of Wheeling an intake site for access to care.
Human Services Director Sherry Herzog.
Good evening. You have before you this evening a letter of agreement between the Suburban Primary Health Care Council and the Village of Wheeling to allow the Human Services Department to be an intake site for the Access to Care program. Access to Care facilitates primary health care for eligible persons residing in suburban Cook County. Residents with family income less or below 200% of poverty who are uninsured for primary health care and ineligible for public medical programs such as Medicaid and Medicare are eligible to enroll in this program. The role of staff will be limited to filling out the application, collecting the required income and identification documents provided by the applicant resident, and mailing it all back to Access to Care in postage-paid envelopes provided. There will be no cost to the Village of Wheeling. The applications will be done by appointment during staff normal working hours. Applications will be prepared for village residents only, and all other residents will be referred to other local resources.
Do we have any questions? Trustee Adjurs.
Thank you. Who in staff will be handling this?
Staff will be the social workers in the Social Services Division of Human Services.
Can you explain 200% of the federal average of income? What does that mean?
To meet the requirements for public assistance, for example, public aid or Medicaid, it's usually 120% of the poverty line right now, and that fluctuates every year. That's about $871 a month for a family of one or one person, and that increases by about $300 for each person that's in the family. So we're looking at a family that more or less would be making, a family of four would be making about $22,000 a year. These are families who are employed, which means they're earning funds. They just do not make enough. They make too much money for public aid, but can't afford or are not offered insurance with their employer. So they may be part-time employees, or the insurance is too expensive for them at their employment.
And let me ask you another thing. Do we have any stats on how many of those folks we have in this town?
I do not. This program has been kind of on the shelf for a couple years as they lost a great deal of funding through the county and the state originally. They received a $3 million grant from the county, and so they're now able to take applications again, whereas in the past there was a 2-year waiting list. They're hoping to clear that waiting list by the end of March to be able to allow new people to come in. I would anticipate we would have many people that would qualify for that program, as we have many people who are working but working poor. They're not making enough to, or they're making too much, unfortunately, for Medicaid, but not enough to afford their own insurance.
And another question to that. Who else around us? Are there other communities doing this as well? Like who?
Yes, the Village of Mount Prospect, the Village of Arlington Heights, the City of Des Plaines, the Village of Schaumburg, and then their respective townships also do that. So Wheeling, Schaumburg, Northfield, Palatine, Elk Grove, Maine, Evanston, and Barrington townships also provide our intake sites for those.
So if another town doesn't have this program, specifically in that town, they can go to that township and
Correct.
get funding.
Right, and we would have a list of we have a list of all of the intake sites, and so if it's a person that does not live in Wheeling that would contact us, we will refer them to the site closest to where they live.
Interesting. Thank you.
Trustee Hein.
People that qualify for this is at 200%. And from what I can see is that it ranges from a family size of 1 through 8. one being $22,340 for the year, to a maximum of 8 people in a family with $77,780. And on a monthly income at 200%, it's $1,862 versus $6,482, depending on the size of your family. How are we going to get out to the people of Wheeling, the residents of Wheeling, that we have this program? How are we going to advertise it?
Well, we have, I've not put out any advertisement yet as we were waiting for the letter of agreement, but we have posters that have been provided by the organization. We want to link it to the website. We want to have that information at the food pantry, at the police department, at the senior center, any place where families may know about this. It will be in the village newsletter and the next edition, not this edition coming out right now due to timelines for providing information, but we're going to get it out to everybody we can.
I noticed in some of the literature that we got on this and some of the stuff I looked up that a lot of these programs with this particular program are run with churches and schools to get the word out, especially the churches and their parishioners, if they have anybody that, and they put it in their news bulletins and such like that. One of the things that concerns me is that these doctors that are providing this service are volunteering their time, and they're only required to have, they can only have a maximum of 10, I believe, okay, a minimum of 10 in a program. Who in our area doctors are qualified, or do we know of any doctors that are on this program?
You know, I don't have that list, and actually that's not a list that's provided to us only because a doctor is assigned to a member of this program once they're accepted into the program. We don't accept people, we just do an intake. Once the Access to Care organization accepts them in, then they assign them to a doctor that's either local or provides a language that they need or provides a specialty that they need. So I could see if I could get that list. I'm not sure if they provide that only because they want to. I mean, these doctors are volunteering their time, and I don't know if they want people to solicit them, but I can try.
And the reason for my question is that if we've got folks that are on this program, it's quite possible that they don't have the transportation to get to somebody. And if one of our neighboring communities is that the next doctor closest to us is in Arlington Heights, are we going to be providing transportation for them as part of the service? I know once we take the application, and that's what we do, we take the application, it sort of stops right there. But are we going to be maybe looking a little further ahead to see if we can get some transportation for these folks, if it is anything over a certain mileage, so we make sure that they take care of their doctor's appointments?
One of the things that the Access to Care program provides is, for example, when people need exams, additional tests, so they may need certain tests or see specialists that are not out here and they need to go to Cook County Hospital, because unfortunately that is the closest place where some of these specialties are taken care of. Access to Care will arrange for the appointment and will also help them find transportation. We also work with the RTA site to at least, if we don't pay for the transportation, but we can help people find the route that they need. So okay, if you take the train, you get off here, this is where you would catch the bus, this is the number of the bus you need to get, this is the street you need to get off. So we do as much as we can to facilitate people getting to their appointments. We aren't able to pay for that, so we do up to that point.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Trustee Lang, second by Trustee Hein. Roll call, please.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Hare?
Yes.
Trustee Argyris?
Yes.
Trustee Hein?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
President Evascado?
Yes.
Item 13B. This is two ordinance regarding Sound Garden Daycare expansion at 149 South Milwaukee Avenue. The first one is B1, ordinance amending ordinance number 4499, which granted special use and site plan approval for a commercial daycare facility at 149 South Milwaukee Avenue, docket number PC12-6.
Mr. Janik.
Good evening. This includes effect on two properties. One is the daycare, as you mentioned, and the other one is the unit just to the north of the daycare, which is a veterinary clinic. The daycare wants to expand. They're keeping the same number of children, maximum number of children in their facility, but they want to expand and take approximately 735 square feet of space from the veterinary clinic. To do that, both the special use for the daycare/school and the veterinary clinic need to be altered to change the layout of each special use. So that's what's before you tonight.
Do we have any questions?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Trustee Brady, second by Trustee Adjira.
Question.
Question by Trustee Hein.
Thank you. They're all, one is getting more square footage and one is getting less, but they've been operating there for a while, haven't they?
That's with Soundgarden. They finished their construction last year, so they've been open probably for a year now since they finished their work inside. They did a substantial amount of work on the inside as well as behind the unit.
Okay. The next question I have is relative to something that could be something happening or not happening. The Village of Wheeling does own a piece of property over there, a couple of doors to the north, I believe.
That's correct.
Have we approached these folks that own that entire, the Skokie TV Center, for lack of a better place, to a cross easement agreement for parking or anything like that? That's one of the things that's always been a little problem over there is parking and access to. It's got a wide open driveway.
That's correct, Mr. Hein. There's always been an issue relative to the Skokie TV, the entire Skokie TV, I'll call it center, commercial center. And if and when something did happen, now our property, of course, is separated from this property by another property. But if those two were combined, I think that there would be some. There wouldn't have to be, but I would like to think that there would be a cross-access easement between these two properties, and they maybe could share in the parking as well.
That green area that's also to the north of the property by the village, is that owned by the Village of Wheeling also?
That's correct. We own that.
Oh, good. Very good. Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Here?
Yes.
Trustee Adjuris?
Yes.
Trustee Hein?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
President Abiscato?
Yes.
Item 13B2, ordinance amending ordinance number 4004, which granted special use and site plan approval for a veterinary clinic at 145 South Milwaukee Avenue, docket number 2005-23.
We have any further questions?
So moved.
Motion made by Trustee Adjuris.
Second.
Second by Trustee Lang. Roll call, please.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Here?
Yes.
Trustee Adjuris?
Yes.
Trustee Hein?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
President Abiscato?
Yes.
Item 13C, discussion regarding restrictions on the sale of single containers of beer and wine, expanded code enforcement under Title 4, Section 4.32.
Mr. Fondilis.
Thank you, Madam President. Before you this evening are two topics of discussion relating to our current liquor code. The first being a ban put in place approximately a year and a half ago on single-service containers, meaning any bottle under 40 ounces. The board saw fit at the time to instill this prohibition on the sale of single-service bottles in accordance with what many other municipalities had done in instituting this ban. Recently, in fact, in December, it had come to my attention from several members of the board that they would like to discuss perhaps eliminating this ban, and that comes at a request and input from some of our sales establishments that felt that this ban was an impediment to their ability to sell. We had talked about this briefly, and I wanted to bring this before you for official discussion. There is another section to this discussion which we can handle, I think, after we talk about the single sale ban first. So the specific topic now, the specific question before you is, would the board feel it appropriate to lift the ban on single sales? Again, those are individual bottled containers below 40 ounces. That's the way our code is written right now. And the way this came up was, again, from input from some of our sellers who are selling what is mostly import beer products. And the way those items are brought in from their distributors are in individual bottles versus cases, so there aren't many options. What our current ban forces the retailer to do is to bundle those bottles together in amounts of 4 or more. So the question then before you is, would the board want to consider eliminating that ban? And obviously we're here to answer any questions should you have any.
Trustee Lang, you have a question?
Well, I initially had issues with this, and several of the board members did as well, for the whole thought of making it easy for someone to grab a can and drive away with it or walk away with it. It wasn't a problem back then, according to police chief. It wasn't an issue in this town. It still isn't an issue. It looks like it's causing more of a burden at this point on our retailers, and they're finding ways around it which aren't all that great for us anyway. So perhaps this ban is a little too harsh, and maybe we should look at lifting it. Thank you.
Trustee here, you have something?
I would agree with him. I was going to say, obviously, historically, according to the police department, it's been no problem. And I, too, would be in favor of lifting it.
Do we have any other?
Madam President?
Yes, Trustee Brady.
Like the research says, there's a lot of these imports that are coming in, especially Australia, I think has several beers that are coming in 38-ounce cans. And it's ludicrous. 2 ounces short of being able to sell it. And I guess several of our establishments bought a stock of it only to find out that they were selling it illegally and put them in a little bit of a bind too. So, you know what? I don't think it's going to matter. I don't think anybody's going to walk in and buy 1 can of beer. They're going to go do anything to buy a 6-pack. And so I think it's just let's get rid of it.
So the consensus is, if you would, that we just eliminate.
Prohibition is repealed.
So would that be to your pleasure, Trustee Hein? Trustee
Yes, I
Agiris?
think we should rescind it.
Trustee Agiris?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee here?
Yes.
And myself, yes.
Thank you. What we'll do is draft the language. There's already some language provided for you for this week for consideration. We'll bring it back to you for adoption at the next meeting.
Are you talking about the fines next?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Part 2 of this evening's discussion is the expansion of Liquor Control Commission code enforcement powers. When staff was looking at bringing before you the consideration to remove the prohibition of single sales, we thought that one of the impediments to the commission to do their job was that you had pretty much black and white authority over approving or simply removing licenses should there be a problem, as opposed to the power to institute progressive punishment through fines. So what the language that was provided to you as part of your memorandum this week simply gives the commission the authority to, instead of just remove a license, you can levy incremental fines based on the offense, if there is one. So this is giving you more authority to handle situations as opposed to just taking away the license from a business. So I think this is both pro-commission because it gives you more leeway in your ability to make your considerations, and I think it's also pro-business because it takes away that automatic rescindment, if that's a word, of the license.
Do we have any statements, or are we all in agreement?
I think we're doing it now anyway.
Correct.
Well, you're doing it now as part of a package to the rest of the offenses. This would allow you to, because right now, the Liquor Control Commission is authorized to revoke or suspend a license, but this allows you to have some steps in our code. That's all. So.
Okay.
Makes sense. We have for discussion.
Do you want to take, does you want a consensus, or is it okay by everybody?
Well, I
You want a
think the consensus was made.
Oh, yes? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Item D, discussion regarding the 2012-2006 Capital Improvement Plan, CPI, for the Village of Wheeling.
Mr. Gray.
Actually, as Kevin gets up to make his official presentation, I thought I would introduce this quickly. Every year we present the CIP separate from our annual budget presentation so that we can publicize some of the major projects that the village does throughout the year. And before we get into the specifics of Kevin's presentation as he walks through some of the projects, I just kind of wanted to talk a bit about what a CIP is. Capital Improvement Plan is the acronym, and that is a plan for capital expenditures over a fixed period of time. The document that is published, it is available on our website, and it is also was provided to the board in advance of tonight's meeting. It's a planning document. It includes all of the 2012 capital improvement projects. Those projects have already been included in our annual budget for this fiscal year. The document itself goes out a total of 5 years, so the following 4 years, it's really just a planning document so that the public, the board, and staff know where our infrastructure needs are, how we're going to address them, and of course how we're going to pay for them. So this is, of course, not all that we do, but from a public works standpoint, because there are a number of maintenance projects that occur during the year. But these are the major infrastructure, capital infrastructure programs that happen throughout the year. There really isn't a question at the end of this presentation for the board. This is just an opportunity for you all to hear a highlight of what happened in 2011 and for the public to hear what's coming in 2012. Again, on an annual basis, staff reviews the needs of the community. Again, we're talking about infrastructure here, so we're talking streets, water, sewer, evaluates them and affects the document to effectively react to the conditions that are out there. Several months ago, you approved a consultant to come in and do an analysis of all of our streets. The results of those types of analyses are then put into the planning document as we go forward. So Kevin's going to walk through some of the highlights from 2011 and talk a little bit about 2012, and I'll hand it over to you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sfondias. Yeah, exactly what John just stated. I'm going to go into some notable projects from 2011, and then talk about 2012 funded projects. I'm not going to talk about any unfunded projects for 2012 and beyond. All right, what's going on here? All right, so here's just a little summary. The CIP's 2012 projects were included and approved as part of the village's approved 2012 annual budget, as John stated earlier. The proposed CIP includes the summaries and project descriptions of the 2012 funded projects, as well as the 2013 through 2016 funded and unfunded projects. And I'm going to go into 2012 year in review, some of the notable projects that I'm going to speak about tonight: MFT street improvement, MFT sidewalk R&R, water main replacement, well 5 rehabilitation, and Dundee Road water main relocation. The 2011 MFT street improvement program focused on Lexington Drive. It was such a wide road and long road, it basically took our whole budget. Its locations in Lexington Common Subdivision. Its limits are from McHenry Road to Lake Cook Road. It consisted of pavement, complete pavement reconstruction, new curb and gutter, a roadway base, and on-street bike lanes. This is actually our first street in town that has on-street bike lanes. The contract amount was $988, just short of $1 million, and the final came in at $906, and that was due to some of the base not being as bad as we thought. And Lexington Drive was actually one of those streets that was constructed with the pozzolanic base course, so it had to be removed. As you can see from the picture, the existing conditions from all the cracks, the various cracks. Oh, whoa. 2011 MFT Sidewalk R&R program. This was in Dunhurst Unit 2, or Unit 1 and 2 subdivision. And basically this is just a project to replace deteriorated sidewalk squares to improve drainage and eliminate potential trip hazards. We also, as you can see on the photograph on the left, we also put in the red truncated ADA accessible domes that are required. The contract amount was $119. That came in a little bit above, and the reason why is because we actually did one street in Dunhurst 3. We wanted to use all our budget, so we completed a one street in Dunhurst Unit 3. 2011 Water and Sewer Fund, we did a water main replacement. This was in Hollywood Ridge subdivision, Unit 1, which is Beverly, Wilshire, I can't think of the other streets. Well, there's 4 streets in Hollywood Ridge, Unit 1. And that was the replacement of existing thin wall cast iron water main with new ductile iron to reduce maintenance costs and service interruptions due to water main breaks. The contract amount was $1.5 million, and it came in approximately $200,000 under. Another one out of the Water and Sewer Fund was a Well 5 rehabilitation. Well 5 is located on 175 McHenry Road, just south of Chelsea Cove subdivision. It consisted of rehabilitation of the well pump assembly, motor, and column pipe, and it is strictly used right now as an emergency backup since we're on the Northwest Water Commission. Contract amount was $139 and final was $239. I believe that was because we had to actually replace the pump itself.
And if you recall, that was expected. That overage was expected at the beginning of the project. We had talked about that in detail before the project started, that there was an expectation that that project would run over the initial contract amount, which was only to pull the pump, evaluate it, and the final amount includes the actual purchase of the pump.
Correct. And the picture on the left is of them removing the pump assembly, and the picture on the right is them putting back the motor. 2011, this was actually funded out of the TIF funds. This is the Dundee Road water main relocation and shared reuse path. This is on Dundee Road adjacent to the bridge over Buffalo Creek near the IDOT's bridge replacement project. And it consisted of relocating and, well, we relocated and replaced existing thin wall cast iron water main with ductile iron water main. And it also provides for a 10-foot wide shared use bike path in conjunction with IDOT's bridge project. Contract amount was $280,000, and that still hasn't been finalized out. The picture on the left, you can see that's actually the crossing going underneath Buffalo Creek, and I want to say it was probably like 12 feet deep. So it's a good project. If we ever had a break on that old cast iron water main, it's really tough to service those. At this time, I'm going to go into notable 2012 projects. I'm going to talk about some projects in the Capital Projects Fund, infrastructure as well as non-infrastructure. And talk about the Motor Fuel Tax Fund projects, Water and Sewer Fund projects, and Water System Removal and Replacement Fund. So this is Dundee Road bicycle pedestrian path. It's in the Capital Projects infrastructure. It's basically a shared use path from the Des Plaines River all the way to 294, the Tri-State Tollway, on the south side, as well as on the north side from Port Wine to the, I guess I'll just say it's to the bridge, back to the bridge. It's it will be a 10-foot wide hot mix asphalt bike path, and it's approximately 5,900 feet in length. And that actually, we received a grant for that, so it's a 80-20. So we will only be responsible for 20% of that project. Another project, Jeffrey Avenue Bridge replacement. We budgeted $110,000, and the total estimated project cost is going to be construction costs is roughly about $1.3 million. The location is Jeffrey Avenue Bridge over Buffalo Creek, serving the Meadowbrook West subdivision. And this is actually just for phase 1 engineering, which is environmental impacts, drainage studies, and bridge assessments. And we actually received a highway bridge replacement and rehabilitation program grant. So we're also have to come up with 20% of that as well. One other piece of information is we are going to have a public meeting sometime in May on this project. Another project that we have is Northgate Parkway Bridge repair. $103,000 is budgeted, and that's basically to do inspection and come up with engineering design to see how we can fix this. We basically have to repair the longitudinal joints as well as the bridge approach. So there's 2 bridge approaches and 1 longitudinal joint that needs to be repaired. Bridle Trail roadway improvements. This is Bridle Trails in the Polo Run subdivision, Unit 1. We budgeted $250,000. This is actually a length of roadway, approximately 125 feet, that actually has sunk due to unfavorable soil conditions. There's actually peat out there. It sunk approximately 2 feet, and basically this project would raise it back up. I believe in our last flooding event, we actually had to set up pumps here, and the road was impassable for emergency vehicles. No vehicles could get back to this cul-de-sac. So it's a good project. Capital projects, non-infrastructure, parkway tree planting. Every year we do about $50,000 worth of parkway tree planting. Consists of replacing dead, diseased, and damaged parkway trees, and it's just various locations throughout the village. Another non-infrastructure is a tornado warning siren upgrade. We budgeted $110,000 for 2012, and I want to say there's 6 of them throughout the village, and this is a federal mandate that we have to comply by. Keith, I could be 2013?
The end of this year, I believe.
The end of this year. And so we have 6 of them. 4 of them are going to be replaced with the unit on the right-hand side, or the right-hand picture, and 2 of them are just upgrades, I believe, because they're newer sirens.
If I can interrupt, Kevin, just for 1 second. I had said earlier about this being a fluid document. This is the second project of the ones that Kevin had gone through, the first being the Jeffrey Avenue Bridge, that were inserted on basically an emergency basis. Jeffrey Avenue Bridge were existing conditions which caused the emergency. In this case, this was an unfunded mandate, as Kevin had said, from the federal government, given not all that much heads up in order to institute these new alarms. So as I had said, every year we evaluate the infrastructure versus the immediate needs of the community, and these 2 made it in last year at the last minute. And again, things have to be moved around and prioritized based on what is of the most concern this year. You can plan 5 years out, but things certainly change between the 1st and the 5th year. So this is the second example of that happening. Thank you.
Next year's MFT Street Improvement Program, we're going to focus in on, we're budgeted $1 million. It's actually a reconstruction of Anita and Stone Place in the Doherty Shamrock subdivision, as well as Edgety Drive, which is located off Northgate Parkway in the Edgebrook Business Center subdivision. This project description, actually I'll go back to that budget amount. We also have $5 million over 2012 through 2016 budgeted. And description of this is that it's a village-wide street improvement program that provides for resurfacing or, when necessary, the reconstruction of existing pavements according to the 5-year plan. and that's typically reevaluated and adjusted every year. Now that we have the pavement assessment, we're able to focus in on the streets that we know are bad right now. And actually, Edgety Drive, on a scale of 0 to 100, received a score of 10. And Anita and Stone Place, I believe, 17 and 22 out of 100 were their scores. They were the lowest. And we actually chose those before we got the study completed. MFT sidewalk removal and replacement piggybacks our last year's project where we went into Dunhurst Unit 1 and 2. We're going to finish all of Dunhurst Unit 3, hopefully, and we budgeted $140,000 for that. Water and Sewer Fund, elevated tank recording and repair program, budgeted $662,000. We're focusing in on Tower 1 along Center Avenue, and the description is it's an interior as well as an exterior recoating of Tower 1. It'll require a consultant to do an inspection, recommend and prepare bid documents that will be necessary for the repairs and recoating. As you can see on the new tower, should have our upgraded logo when it's completed. Water and Sewer, water meter improvement program. Sure you guys have seen this before. Budgeted $3.5 million. It's consists of upgrading all the water meters as well as a remote reading system throughout the entire village. And this new system should improve customer service, provide meter management capabilities such as leak detection, tamper detection, and dispute resolution. In summary, staff requests Village Board comments and our recommendations for the 2013 through 2016 CIP projects, and providing that there are no major revisions, the CIP for fiscal years 2012 through 2016 will be presented to the board for approval on March 5th.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
One,
Trustee Brady.
Didn't we just hear from the state that they're going to be starting Wolf Road, I think next year, if I remember correctly? Yet on your CIP, you don't have any money in there for anything until at the beginning of 2015. Is that going to need some adjustments in there?
The latest that we heard from IDOT is that they changed it. Originally, it was going to be scheduled for a widening and resurfacing, and they just turned it into a complete reconstruction. Yeah. So it's probably going to go through phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, everything, complete engineering.
Start all over again with the engineering?
Most likely, yeah. So it's probably going to push it back now that it's a reconstruction project.
Yeah, Kevin?
Sure.
We got a letter from IDOT that they did reconsider our request for reconstruct on the JT, and they've agreed to do it, and it's been moved back till after the completion of Levy 37. So that's where it's at right now.
Oh, that's right, yes. For the Heritage Park Flood Control Facility, they wanted to wait until that was completed before they started on Wolf Road.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? Trustee Jarrett.
Thank you. Maybe there's a question for Mr. Monishing and John.
Yes.
Why don't you explain the capital improvement fund? Where does the dollars come from? You know, there's a lot of perception out there. Oh, these guys are doing all these projects now. They're going to spend millions of dollars and they're going to raise my taxes. Why don't you explain where all this happens and how we're able to do the projects?
Sure, it's a great question because there's a lot of projects up there, and I'm sure a lot of people want to know how we're going to pay for those. The capital improvement program consists of essentially 4 sources of revenue to pay for the projects. One of them is the Capital Projects Fund, which receives gas and electric use tax revenue on an annual basis. Approximately $2 million goes into that fund each year to pay for infrastructure and non-infrastructure related projects like Kevin described. In addition to that, we have the Water and Sewer Fund, which is paid for through water and sewer fees that people pay on a bi-monthly basis, and that pays for any capital projects related to the water and sewer system. And then we have the Motor Fuel Tax Fund, which is money that's remitted to the village from the state of Illinois on a per capita basis, and people pay for that through when they buy gasoline for their cars. And then finally, we have the TIF funds. We have 5 TIF districts, which provide funding as well for capital project related activities within each of the TIF districts. So primarily, those are the sources of funds for the capital improvement program.
Thank you.
Trustee Hein.
Thank you. Can you explain a little bit more in detail some of the new sidewalks we're putting in? I saw a lot of emphasis put it on repairing the existing sidewalks that we have, but what about some new sidewalks that we're putting in, and where are they going to be located?
Sure. One location is at the intersection of Wolf Road and Milwaukee Avenue, where the new bus shelter went in, right by Buca. We're going to extend the sidewalk from the bus shelter to the intersection. Another one is at, and this is part of the TIF district, public storage at Hintz in Milwaukee. It's we're going to wrap that around from Hintz to Milwaukee by Gators Restaurant. What else do we have?
Across the street too, right? From St. Joe's?
That's part of the IDOT project, yes. That'll be the 10-foot bike path.
I believe the Milwaukee Avenue project that was in front of the Plan Commission, if they extend the walk to the north, will bring the sidewalk back south to the new, or to the bus stop, which is just south of Dam Inn.
Let me piggyback on what Mr. Stavros just said. I was watching the Planning Commission meeting when that docket came up. And of course, as we all know, when it comes to sidewalks, a lot of times developers don't like to put sidewalks in because they use the quote, the sidewalks are nowhere type situation. Little do they know they have an interest in that project and that project only, but we have an interest in the entire community in developing a sidewalk program. How do we feel as a community? Do we really emphasize the fact that we'd rather have the sidewalk than getting the money to, because they do have an option there and they request an option and they come before this board and request that they put money into the sidewalk fund. And lo and behold, we put a sidewalk in 5, 6, 7, 8 years from then, and the costs have gone up and everything else, and we really don't recoup the money we get. I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot. What I'm trying to do is get a consensus here so that we're all on the same page, that when a developer does come before this board, that we have an understanding that we want sidewalks. In very few cases, and I'm not saying we want them all the time, but there are going to be exceptions to the rule. But for the majority, every time we are building infrastructure, we're not adding any new land to the village of Wheeling. We're not adding new subdivisions. We're filling in where stuff isn't, even with the new stuff that's coming up in development. So I think it's very important that we stay cognizant of that and make sure the developers put in sidewalks. They may go nowhere now, but they will go someplace someday.
Trustee Hein, to your point, that will be a topic for a separate workshop. That is a different take than what had traditionally been the purpose of the sidewalk fund. So that's something that the board needs to discuss, and we will bring it before the board as a workshop item. The purpose of the sidewalk fund is to do kind of what you had said at the beginning of your discussion, which is not build the sidewalk to nowhere. So the idea is a developer recognizing that they need to put sidewalks in front of their project, puts money into the fund, which allows us to use that money on a priority basis to finish projects that are already partially completed, such as the examples that Mr. Gray had just given. Then when the time comes that there are other projects next to these new ones, there was money paid into and therefore credits left for us to finish the sidewalk in front of those developments. So the idea of simply enforcing the code to the letter of the law and asking developers to install sidewalks regardless of whether those sidewalks would connect to any other system in the immediate area is different than the established protocol that we have. So in order to change that, I think it would be appropriate for us to have a more detailed discussion and let the board make that decision if that's the way you feel. So that will be coming to you.
Okay, and maybe we can just piggyback one more thing onto that while we're talking about sidewalks. Last Thursday night, I had an opportunity to stop by the Planning Commission as they were putting together their subcommittees on sidewalks and streetscapes and such like that. And that committee was appointed by the chairman, and it comprises of Planning Commission members, and I thought they did an outstanding job. And perhaps they can be brought into that part of the program also, because with the sidewalk portion of it. It was very interesting, and I'm hoping that we don't lose sight of it, because we do need a plan as far as streetscapes and sidewalk planning and so on and so forth. Thank you.
Do you have any other? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gray.
11B, which is now 13E, ordinance amending Chapter 4.32 of the Village of Wheeling Municipal Code, alcoholic liquor dealers, specifically Section 4.32.085.
So that would be Mr. Brady. You asked for it to be removed?
Yes, Madam President. Because of the fact that this license that we're adding is of Tuna Nights at Columbus, I'm going to have to abstain.
I, as well, as I'm a member of that organization.
Okay, so it's Brady abstain. You're abstain.
So do we have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Lang, second by Trustee Agiris. Roll call, please.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Hare?
Abstain.
Trustee Argyris?
Yes.
Trustee Hine?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Abstain.
President Evans-Scotto?
Yes.
4-3.
We have any official communication? There is no official communication. We'll go into executive session. Excuse me? I forgot the bills again. I always do that. Sorry. Approve of the bills February 2nd through the 15th.
So move.
Do I have a motion? Trustee Agiris?
Second.
Second by Trustee Lang. Roll call, please.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Hare?
Yes.
Trustee Argyris?
Yes.
Trustee Hine?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
President Evans-Scotto?
Yes. Executive session for the purpose of the acquisition of land by the village and the purpose of setting the price of property owned by the village, for the purpose of the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the Village of Wheeling.
So move.
Motion made by Trustee Agiris, second by Trustee Hine. Roll call, please.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Hare?
Yes.
Trustee Argyris?
Yes.
Trustee Hine?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
President Evans-Scotto?
And the board will go into executive session at 7:34.